really weird. I'm sorry. So I am Becky Tang with I Take the Lead, and Ronnie, my dear friend, has agreed to do a webinar for us. She is going to teach us all how to create a killer elevator speech. Now, it is recording. You will get the replay. But I'm so glad that you're here because it's always better in person, and you'll have the opportunity to ask Ronnie questions at the end. So I'm going to let her, actually, Ronnie was in Vancouver. Everybody in the Vancouver, Portland area know Ronnie Noize. She's very, very well known. She, on her way to Wisconsin, she stopped in Spokane for a few weeks, and now she's in Iowa. So she's coming to us from Iowa. We're so excited, but she was voted one of the top 100 most powerful women here in Portland. And that was right along with Arlene Schnitzer, because we have the Schnitzer Hall, whatever it's called down here. Very, very well known. And so we're really excited to have Ronnie today. She's the marketing coach. She's my marketing coach. She's phenomenal. So I'll let her take it from here since we are starting a little bit late. So
thank you, Becky. That's a wonderful and charming introduction. I appreciate that. I am thrilled to be here, everybody, and I so appreciate, Becky, your kind invitation to share my thoughts about elevator speeches. And you know how I am. I got my own way of doing things. And so we're going to start today. I'm going to have some slides so that you guys don't have to look at me and notice that I probably have salad in my teeth. And I hope that you're okay. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do today. And so here's me. This is me with makeup and my hair done. I have not had my hair done in over 6 months, and I apologize. So I see Lynn is like, I don't recognize either of these people anymore. But so I don't know if anyone else has had any sort of situation with their hair and grooming since COVID, but I sure have.
absolutely.
So getting back to what we're going to do, this is me. At least this is a highly idealized version of me, and I'm going to try to bring my best to you today. As you know, I am the author of How to Create a Killer Elevator Speech. And today, what I'm going to do is answer 3 questions for you. I am going to first talk about what is an elevator speech. Second, what an elevator speech can and what it really can't do for you. And third, I'm going to touch on what to say in your elevator speech, and even more importantly, what not to say. Because as Lynn was saying earlier, many of us want to say a little bit too much, and we just add and add and add. So this is what's going to be happening today. And I just want to acknowledge here, it's one thing to hear the information, but it's quite another thing to figure out how to apply it, right? So I promise you that I will not leave you hanging without giving you help applying these ideas to your business and your messaging. Okay, so I really do have help for you, and some of it's free. I think you're going to like it. So stay with me. Let's start by getting on the same page here. What is an elevator speech? So, and later we're going to talk about how it's different from an elevator pitch. So, like you, I've heard a lot of names for elevator speech. Some of them I like audio logo, talking business card. Tagline means something else in the marketing world. Self-introduction, practice statement, commercial, wrap, a lot of things. You've probably heard it called something very similar, like an elevator pitch, but that's technically different. And it's important to understand that we are talking about 2 different things here. So when I'm talking about an elevator speech, what I mean is a simple sentence, ideally 7 to 9 words long. However, if you're a guy, I don't make up the rules. I also don't have to like them. If you're a guy, you may often have as many as 13 and up to 21 words.
21 words, wow.
I know. Society isn't fair.
No.
I try to make up
like
for it.
Me.
It's old guys like you.
I get 2 extra words if I wear glasses.
That's right, you do. That's exactly right. So, and really what this word does, I mean, what this phrase does, this elevator speech, if you will, is it distills the essence of your value to a very specific user client base, you might say. And it answers the question, what do you do? That's the thing I want you to remember. Now keep in mind that the way people listen needs to be understood so that we can deliver our messaging appropriately. And people listen for two things when they ask you a question about you. And here's a really weird thing. They're actually thinking about themselves. And the first question running through their minds is this: is she talking about me or someone I care about? Yes or no. And the second question is, do I want or am I interested in what she's talking about? Yes or no. And so we ask these questions, we filter them out because our brains are lazy. And for our brains to function at their absolute maximum peak, we need to filter information that comes to us and decide whether or not it's useful, whether or not it's important, whether or not we're interested. And your brain does that in a fraction of a microsecond. Now, a positive response to either one of these questions is enough to capture attention, to open a conversation, and which is obviously the first step to a relationship or a sale, but that's down the line. To get to that point, you're going to have to tell people specifically what it is you do for them in terms of solutions or benefits, not process. And that's why an elevator speech is so important. This is a thing to keep in mind. So, pop quiz. Let me ask you a question. So it's important to remember, as I just mentioned, what do you do is a social question, and social questions have very short, usually highly formatted responses. Never or rarely more than 3.5 seconds, actually. So here's a social question for you. What is the correct response to the question I'm showing on my screen right now? What is the correct response to the question, how are you? Lynn?
How am I? I'm doing pretty well, actually.
Huh. Usually it's fine. Usually it's fine. Although I'm very glad to hear you're doing well. So it is, so usually it's fine, just fine. And he said, I'm doing pretty well, actually. That was less than 3 seconds, which is absolutely appropriate. But what you probably already know, all of us, is that the appropriate question is not, oh my goodness, how am I? Well, I just ate a burrito that I found in the back of the fridge this morning, and I feel like I was kicked in the gut by a donkey. And okay, so the diarrhea, the gas, the acid reflux, don't get me started. Suffice it to say, I will never eat a burrito that I have to carbon date from my own, even if it's from my own fridge. And if I don't remember buying it, then it's definitely not going to be the first thing I eat. And so anyway, yeah, that's me. How are you? So that's a combination of too weird, too much information, and that completely disrupts the feeling, the meter, the patter that we have of communication. It's also a betrayal of the social contract. Usually when people say, how are you? If I was any better, I'd be twins. I'm fine. I'm great. I'm doing okay. There are a lot of different answers. All of them are about 1 to 2 seconds. It's unusual to have a 3.5 second answer, but that's as long as you can really go without people starting to think, what is up with this person? Now, obviously, if we already have a relationship with someone and they actually know what's going on in our lives, and they're and maybe they have some sort of an agenda, we can say something like, someone's like, how are you? Are you feeling better? You can say, oh yeah, well, actually my tennis elbow is cleared up. We'll be back on the court next week. But that's really kind of the extent you're allowed. You don't go into the juicy details of your surgery or your medications or your spouse's response to you not being able to take out the garbage and all of those things, to the simple, how are you question. That is, again, social question.
Well, some people do, but I notice they don't have a lot of friends for some reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Those people that say, I'm no longer contagious, or I won't be contagious much longer. Yeah.
Yeah, certified sane. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does all this have to do with your response to that question, the what do you do question? Again, remember, it's essentially a social question, not a request for a proposal, not a demand for how you spend your time, not an invitation to sell. So we're back at that 3.5 seconds maximum. And so what you do with those seconds is going to determine whether or not that conversation goes further. So bottom line, you've only got 3.5 seconds. You're going to have to choose your words extremely carefully so that you can have actually a killer elevator speech. So let's recap. We know what an elevator speech is. It's a short, pithy response to the social question, even though it's presented in a business context. What do you do? That distills the essence of your value to a particular client. So what is the pitch? Actually, I call this the 30-second follow-up because it's the answer to an information request. And you know what? I have no idea what's going on with my slides. Oh, yes, actually I do. So, sorry, I'm all set. So, which is either a response to your elevator speech. So someone says, what do? You respond with your elevator speech and they say, really? Or that's interesting? Or how does that work? Or tell me more. Or someone could just actually be giving you a command. And this is something that we hear all the time in business. We say, Becky, meet Lynn. Becky, tell Lynn a little about your business. You know, and that's sort of a social command, and it's good to say something, but you don't want to have someone have to drag stuff out of you, and you don't want to let that conversational ball drop. So we'll talk about this process in a few minutes, but first, let's discuss what an elevator speech cannot do for you. An elevator speech really can't do for you several things. Number one, it can't make or close a sale. And it can't tell your entire story because you know what? It shouldn't. Because remember, a killer elevator speech is not about you. It's a response to a social question. People are trying to figure out who you are and how they should be thinking of you. They're not even trying to decide if they want to work with you. They just want to have a social context for, you know, like, what's your deal? And so you want to talk to them about who you work for and what those people get, but you're not, again, you're not pitching, you're not selling, and you're not telling the whole story. However, you can absolutely determine if the person standing in front of you is a good either referral partner or prospect by the way they respond and whether or not they ask for more details. So if not, no harm, no foul. You don't have to grab that person by the shoulders and shake them and tell them everything that you want to say because that makes you a boring person. You can just be polite, ask them the question, and then go on your merry way and talk to the next person. So, but if somebody is interested, wow, you have either a potential power partner or a prospect, and I say good for you. So here is what an elevator speech can do for you. But here's what I also want to say about it. Okay, so, elevator speech, when it's short and pithy and clear, in some ways, and this isn't the only thing that can do this, but this can certainly help contribute to your reputation, you might say, your vibe. An elevator speech, and let me clarify, one that is appropriate, credible, intriguing, specific, brief, and is attractive, and is memorable enough so that once people hear it, they can remember the gist and tell other people about you. That's a killer elevator speech. And a killer elevator speech establishes your credibility and professionalism. It can clarify what you do. We don't have to get into the how. That's mechanical process, not interesting. With whom you work or with whom you serve, how those people benefit from working with you in a very concrete, specific way, not some, you know, airy-fairy, you know, people are happier sort of way. Now, of course, some of this is going to have to be implied because you've only got 7 to 9 words. So you're going to have to choose that those words extremely carefully. Now, an elevator speech, let's see what else. Oh, that's a tool. Okay, so elevator speech can also help your prospects visualize how working with you will solve their problems. They're like, well, is she talking about me and do I want what she wants or that she offers? If the answer is yes, then they're visualizing working with you. And a killer elevator speech can actually alert prospects who might not even imagine that someone could help them with the very thing that they're struggling with, help them deal with their problem, help them solve whatever is going on in their lives. They might not realize that help exists, and all of a sudden it's right there, right in front of them. And how exciting is that? But ultimately, the purpose of a killer elevator speech is to answer the question, what do you do, in a way that invites further conversation. I want to open the door to having more of a conversation. And if it doesn't do that, it's either not killer or the person is really uninterested. So that's the thing. So questions so far?
I would say,
Go ahead, Lynn.
try not to be too mysterious. It drives me crazy when somebody gives an elevator pitch and they just dance around, and you just stop teasing.
Exactly.
Just say what you do.
Yeah, because you're absolutely right, Lynn, because that is not a killer elevator speech.
Yeah.
That is someone who is so afraid of closing the door that they can't open the right door. They can't explore the possibility of being right.
Yep.
So yeah, and that is a bummer. Okay.
So good. So Ronnie stopped it to see if anybody has any does anybody have any other questions? Just unmute yourself, or you can put it down in the chat.
I'm sorry?
You can unmute yourself, or if you have any questions.
Simple question. Can we get a copy of this deck also?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Why not? I'll be happy to share.
How generous.
It is absolutely my pleasure. I spent a good 14 minutes putting this together, and I will be quite pleased if somebody else wants to see it. Okay, Charlie, thank you. Any other questions?
Look at see.
You see anything?
No.
Okay, so we have talked about the best response to the elevator speech. Just tell me more. We've defined the elevator speech. We've discussed what it can and can't do. And now we're going to explore what to say and what not to say. And let's start. So I have two tools that you can access for free on my website that will help you develop your elevator speech as well as a follow-up, because the follow-up is really an equally important piece. So there are kind of two steps here. Number one, you create your killer elevator speech, that quick little answer. And then you have what I call my 30-second follow-up, which is how you continue the conversation, how you answer that command to tell us about their business. And spoiler alert, it's really one of the most important stories you can tell about your business. And the cool thing is, once you have this story, you can say it verbally. You can make it into a social post. You can make it into a video. It can go on your website as copy. It can be used for lots of different ways, because the story of what you do and how you do it and who benefits is fascinating to your market.
Hey,
and not
Brian,
nearly enough.
Don Riggin. Could you give me a call, please? 360
Sorry.
8792. Thanks.
Let's see if we can. I think that's done. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
I got him muted.
Thank you.
Really sorry about that. Okie dokie. So I've got these two tools, and I'll show you a link in just a little bit. But let's start. This is my killer elevator speech tool, and this is a piece of it that you can see right now. And so the design and structure of this is what I would consider deceptively simple, because you only need to use, say, 5 words at the least, maybe 13 max. But the challenge is finding the right words that not only resonate with and attract your audience, as well as make sense to the average listener. And Becky, it sounds like we've got a little more, some people are unmuted again. If you can check on that,
Sure.
that would be great. Thanks. So it's not that I want everybody to talk down to listeners, not at all. It's just that using jargon or words that are not familiar or concepts that are unfamiliar to your market is alienating. And so I want you to think of things in the most simple way possible. So the truth is that most native English-speaking persons have a vocabulary of as few as 25,000 words to about 35,000. The higher the education and the more interested in words you are, the higher, the more number of words you know. But the problem is using unfamiliar words with people means that you will reduce the comprehension. And you want people to understand immediately what it is that you are talking about. So I would recommend that you stick with these 10,000 or so highest frequency, and I don't mean squeaky loud, like high frequency sonar sort of thing. I mean most frequently used words in your elevator speech, because you want people to understand you instantly. Because confused people may not always ask for clarification, sad truth. They may get the wrong idea. They may become, oh, I don't know, angry, offended, bored, or not even get what you're trying to say. And the deal is confused people don't buy. Confused people are not interested. So you want to be crystal clear. You want to make things simple. Now, I just want to mention that it's not that people are stupid. People are distracted. There's air quality. There's politics. There's that burrito they found in the back of the refrigerator that's coming, that's bugging them right now. There's a whole bunch of things that people have on their mind. Did I lock the car? Am I going to get out of this meeting on time? My feet hurt. I mean, a million things that are vying for your audience's attention as you are speaking. So you want to make it as easy as possible for people to understand you. Now, so that's why an elevator speech has got to be extremely simple. Now, here is my elevator speech, which is I help small businesses attract more clients. Very simple. Now, let me show you the readability statistics. See, there's my elevator speech. I use the Hemingway app online to check readability, and this is surprisingly 8th grade, which is a little more sophisticated, and I would prefer it would be between 4th and 6th grade. But when you create an elevator speech, I suggest that you run it by this tool to make sure that its comprehension, its readability, is 8th grade or less. Otherwise, you run the very real risk of alienating your audience because they don't understand, they mishear, or they feel offended because they think that you're trying to talk over their heads. Now, you may think, this is silly. Everybody's smart. Everyone's like me. Everybody's been to college. Everybody reads the dictionary for fun. Sadly, that's not nearly as true as I imagined it was. Now, once you have your elevator speech in place, and I'm going to go back and show you my tool again. It's really kind of simple. So you want to have a helping verb. You want to talk about your target market. You want to talk about how you deliver what it is, not your process, but what the client goes through, and then the benefit, which is the wanted result. And this is usually not the place to talk about price or something along those lines. And the way I came up with mine, and this is a little ad hoc sort of exercise you can do anytime, but I remember talking to some clients, and several of them told me that on a Saturday morning, they woke up and cried. And it's not because it was raining in Portland, because it always rains in Portland. And I think it's beautiful and it makes us look younger. And we like the rain. But they said the reason they woke up and cried is they were afraid they were going to have to go back and get jobs, go back and get a job, because they didn't have enough clients. And also they were tired of the sales process. They were tired of chasing clients. And what they really wanted to do was invoke that law of attraction. They wanted to attract clients like a magnet. They wanted to feel like people wanted to work with them. And so I realized that really my clients are the people who want to attract more clients. My clients are typically not your cold calling fiends. And I think that's the same thing with Becky. People join I Take the Lead because they hate to cold call, and it's so much better to meet clients or meet prospects through relationships and through introductions and through attraction strategies, you might say. And so that's how I came up with my elevator speech, because that speaks to the person that I want to work with. It doesn't speak to everybody, but who I want to work with. Did I hear a question out there?
Let me check.
Nope? Okay. Okay. So then once we've got this in place, what comes next is where the money is. So how do you answer that question? Tell me more, or how do you do that, or what's up with that, or how does it work? In such a way that invites interest and doesn't bore people. So this is what I call my 30-second follow-up. Where am I? Yeah, and I've got a little tool. Again, you can get this for free on my website. And what's really cool about it, I think, and I'm not going to break my arm patting myself on the back. It's just pretty obvious that once you recognize that human language is most frequently presented as a story, and that's how we learn, that's how we communicate, that's how we share. Well, that is the most obvious thing, that we should be telling people about our business as in the way of a story. And so I thought, well, how could we do that? Now you're going to see some of these steps, and I broke it down because I'm a very analytical person, and it's a very specific formula. Now it's tempting, of course, to create a laundry list of information about our businesses that we can spew in response to that questions that were asked. But I gotta say, I don't know about you, but I feel put off or bored or sometimes offended because it feels like people are talking at me rather than talking to me when I ask them a question about, oh, really, how does that work? So the solution that I have found is to tell a story. And not all of us are good storytellers, so here is my little template. So because we're short on time, I'm going to give you just a peek at the tool, and then I'm going to show you an example. But basically, there are 10 steps, and I'm going to explain the first one, which is parrot. And I say parrot because that's what we do to communicate to other people that we have heard them. And we typically say something back to them, and most often it is a parrot of what they said to us. Then we're going to open the story with the once upon a time of grown-ups, which is, you know how. And then we're going to talk about a scenario, you know how, and our client is going to be the star or our client category. And we're never going to say, you know how you, because that is horribly presumptuous. And people immediately will say, you don't know me. So you're going to talk about someone in the third person. You're going to talk about this client category. And then you're going to talk about what problems they're facing, and then the consequence of that problem. Then you're going to take a breath for eye contact, and sometimes they're going to start talking too. But this is what we do, is we want to make sure that we get continued permission to talk. And then we're going to say, well, this is what I do. I'm a marketing coach, and here's how I solve that problem. And then you're going to use a de facto testimonial by quoting your clients. You know, my clients say, and then you're going to talk about what they feel, which is very important, what they say, then what they feel, and then you're going to wrap it all up with a happily ever after. And one happily ever after is, but at the end of the day, and that's what I'm using here. You don't have to use that. It's just an example. So let me go over here and move this. There we go. Okay, so the parrot. So here's what happens. So I have my elevator speech. Someone says, so Ronnie, nice meeting you. What do you do? And I say, well, I help small businesses attract more clients. And they're like, attract? And I'm like, attract. I know. How cool is that? Well, you know how a lot of small businesses love what they do, but they really hate to market. Well, problem is, though, without marketing, they're not going to have anybody to do for. So what happens is they either have to go get a job, or the other option is learn how to market. So to keep doing what they love to do, what they want to do, and get paid for doing it. Seriously. I'm a marketing coach, and with my simple 4-step process, my clients learn how to market their businesses with integrity, and authenticity, and ease. It's really pretty easy. They say that they're relieved to finally have a plan, a model, a format to follow, so they don't have to worry about what to do and what they're not going to do. And they're totally thrilled actually at how easy it is because I break things down. But really, I think at the end of the day, what they love about all this is they finally cracked the code to earning money doing what they love and not working themselves to death. So that's my little story. And as you can see, I didn't do it exactly. And yikes, I have the wrong image. I didn't have the whole thing on there. Sorry about that. But so I sort of told it like a story, and I had a pause in the middle so that people could kind of project themselves into it. And what I got to tell you, the most common thing that I hear when I say this is, oh my gosh, it's like you're reading my mind. So this has happened to me too. So what you want to do is find pieces of information to create this story for yourself, and you want to use the stuff that your clients have told you about their problems, their challenges, and what's at risk for them if they don't solve these problems, which is something that you can help them do. So before we go on, I want to stop and take a temperature check. Any questions right now?
Well, I was just going to say, this is new. I mean, so it's exciting.
Yeah.
I haven't heard you talk about this before. So I'm checking to see, just if you have a question, just unmute yourself and just remember to mute yourself when you go back. But or you can put your question in the chat. And both Lynn and I will be watching.
Yeah.
Oh, I better pull up chat.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so so anytime someone has a question, you just go ahead and ask.
Okay.
Now, so we'll move forward, and these are the things I told you I would not leave you hanging. Both of these tools are available.
Oh, right.
Right now for you free on my website. And
okay.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, you froze for a minute.
Okay. Am I back?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So I've put together a little offer for any of those who want to work with me privately. Now this webinar is not a sales pitch. As you can see, as you've already seen, it's a content webinar, which I think I delivered some value on this topic. You got a lot of information, and information is great, but as we talked about before, information isn't the only thing that is going to make this type of thing happen for you. The question for most of us is, how do I apply these strategies? How do I apply this information? How do I use these tools to improve my messaging and my elevator speech and my follow-up and my business? And I can help you with that. After all, I am the author of How to Create a Killer Elevator Speech. So I may be the right expert for you. So let's talk about what it looks like very briefly to work with me to apply these ideas to your business. So the question I have for you is, are you ready to work with me? You may or may not be, and there's absolutely no pressure. You get to decide what's best for you, but I have learned from sad experience that sometimes people are disappointed or even angry when I haven't said, here's how we can work together. Because I showed you already, here's where you can download my tools for free. Now here's how we can work together. Because I think it would be irresponsible of me not to help you after getting you excited about this and telling you how well it works and showing you the stuff, and then, but yeah, you go off and do it yourself. That's not cool. I'm trying to be cool here. So, but you get to decide what's best for you. So what I've decided to do is I'm giving a 50% off code. It's iTTL, for I Take the Lead. And so you can use that code to book a private session with me. You can ping me on Facebook, or you can go to my website. And so here's my website right here. You can see it under services. It's book coaching. There's marketing coaching session. Then there's a little black button, book your private marketing coaching session. Then you're going to enter the code there, which is iTTL, and it will give you that $50 off.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Yes. And so if you want to learn how to introduce yourself in a way that people remember, so that hot prospects start become magnetized, and so you can attract the people who are ready to work with you now because they want their problem solved, you can book your private session. Okay, so let's, I have got a couple of things to say. Becky, we have time for takeaways. And I have something that I want to share after we do some takeaways. So let me hear from, say, 3 people about what it is that you're taking away from today's discussion of elevator speech and how to introduce yourself in a meeting. Who wants to go?
I'll
Yes,
jump
Lynn?
I'll jump in as an old timer here, Ronnie, because I've heard this
You're
before.
not that old.
Well, been around. What I'm taking away is I've heard this before, but you've dialed it in a little bit more than the last time I heard it. And what you're telling me is, if I'm a little confused as a business owner and things aren't quite clicking, there are things I can do, and you can help me actually take control of the situation and make things work. So you're offering business owners the ability to take control of their situation and do some marketing and walk them through the process. So it's all about, yeah, I don't have to feel like things are out of control.
You're so right. And isn't that like the worst thing about modern times? And we cannot control the weather. We
Yep.
cannot control politics. We cannot control the pandemic. But by golly, we can control our messaging and our business.
Mm-hmm.
Lynn, thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that feedback. So I'd like to hear from somebody else. Charlie, you smiled a moment ago.
I
Is it
know.
Can you unmute yourself and say something?
There we go. I appreciated the follow-up portion of what you presented. I tend to get very wordy, case in point. And
You and me both, baby.
but what's nice about it is it not only compartmentalizes what you say and creating a story that people could relate to, it also streamlines your approach to the conversation and your approach to bringing someone in to work with you.
Excellent. Thank you. That's very sparkly for me. Thank you. So
Thanks,
who
Charlie.
else?
Thanks, Lynn.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. That was you,
Michael,
Becky.
is there? Oh, that was me. Yeah, I'm just, I just thanked them. Yeah, so does anybody else have anything they want to add? We have Eddie, who's always willing.
Eddie, have you got something to say?
Oh, I think this is great. You know, I like the format that you put out there and some of the tips. I like the 10 steps there. Makes perfect sense. You know, I think a lot of this stuff is very simple. We just make it hard.
Yeah, and blame your brain for that thing, for making things difficult. Yeah, so keep it blunt, simple, baby. That makes it easy.
Ever since I think we were hearing about this, you know, trying to keep it down, I've been working on mine, you know, to get it down to 11 words. And I've been practicing that every time we get into one of our I Take the Lead meetings. So, you know, just knowing that you should get it down to 11. I guess if you can't get it down to there, you need to work on it a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. If you can't say it in a few words, then you probably don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I know you do. So it will come.
Yes.
Thank you, Eddie.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who wants to make a comment before we wrap it up? Because I have one more thing I want to share.
I'd like to know how you deal with people and saying, I have this all the time. I just dealt with Cox Cable executive office. You would think at that level they had the intelligence to listen.
Okay,
They
so
don't.
who
How
is
do you
speaking, and
people?
can you re-say that? Because I didn't hear. I don't think I understood.
My name is Davida Rochelle. I'd like to know how I should deal with people in my life in a personal business situation who don't seem to have the capacity to listen or to understand. And I just had that today with Cox Cable and with credit card company, everything. It's like you ask them a question, they repeat the same thing. I guess in times it has nothing to do with your question, and definitely in business and in personal life as well.
Yes, you have asked the right person. So that's a great question. And so here is something, and just, you know, spoiler alert, my undergraduate degree is in communications. And the first thing that we learn in Communications of Speech 101 is that it takes two people to have a communication loop. There are some broadcasting out there where you talk at people, but what you're talking about is a communication loop. And so it is the person, it is the speaker, the questioner's responsibility to frame the question in words that can be easily understood. And this is what I was talking about a little earlier. And in such a way that your meaning is made clear. And so a lot of times it's not that they're not smart, it's not that they're not listening, it's just that there may be trigger words, or they may not understand something, or maybe having some sort of a reaction. And so it is our responsibility, especially for our businesses, to find out the right words that resonate and make sense to that segment of our niche of our market. So there's the market, and then there's a niche, and there's a little segment of that we want to speak to directly, and we have to know exactly what they say and how they communicate so that we can do the same thing. Otherwise, we have these communication problems, these miscommunication problems, which, as it sounds to me like you're experiencing some frustration and disappointment. And so what we do is we take responsibility for how we message our feedback, our requests, and our communication. And we make sure that we do our best to make sure that it will be easy to understand and clear to the receiver. Because in the communication model, there's sender and there's receiver. And it's the sender's responsibility, sadly, to make sure that message is understood and heard. And sometimes we have to do weird stuff. A really great example of that is the governor of New York did a PSA about wearing masks today because he wanted millennials to wear masks. And he had actor Paul Rudd do a very comedic little presentation as if he were a millennial himself. And so that is a great example of framing your message in a format and using language that your audience will understand. Tabitha, I hope that makes sense.
Thank you, although I'm not quite sure how to do it.
Yeah, well, and you are not alone. And that is really the challenge that so many of us face is how do we do that? And it takes effort and it takes work, but I have complete confidence that you can do it. It really is just a matter of time, attention, focus, and practice. So I'm confident that you can make it happen. All right, my friends. So I have just one final message before I throw this back to Becky, because I know that Becky has things that she wants to say. As our time together is drawing to a close, I just want to say thank you. It's been my pleasure to work with you. We discussed what we mean by an elevator speech. We explored what it can do for you and what it can't do for you. And we talked about how to organize our words, our stories, our ideas about our businesses in a way that invites conversation and increases understanding. Now, if it hasn't been crystal clear, let me remind you that right now, out there in the world, there are people who are praying for guidance and support and solutions and information from someone like you. Unfortunately, they probably don't know who you are yet, but with your elevator speech and that little follow-up, you've got your story together. You'll be able to reach out to them and help them visualize what's possible when you work together in a way that is not pushy or salesy. As a matter of fact, it's magnetically attractive because people can identify themselves in your story and imagine that happily ever after outcome for them. So your killer elevator speech, my friends, is a good thing for you. It's a good thing for your referral partners, makes their lives easier. It's good for your future clients. In other words, it's good for the world. And in these uncertain times, any comfort and ease you can bring to others is deeply appreciated. And what you are offering to the world right now is needed and necessary. So I invite you to step into your power. Deliver your contributions and help people understand how you can help them by organizing a truly killer elevator speech, including the follow-up story. This is Ronnie Noize, the virtual marketing coach. Thank you for listening and playing with me today. Becky, back to you.
Always a lot of fun. So do you have time do you have a couple minutes for questions and answers?
Well, you know I do.
Okay. So we will open it up for questions. This is your time to ask questions. So we've got everybody.
And I'm going to throw out, if you have a question, ask it. I've heard Ronnie give a version of this to a live group at a dinner meeting with 185 people. So she's used to having a lot coming at her. So if you've got a question, take advantage of the time.
Yeah, bring it.
Well, Davida said, thank you very much for your info. She really appreciated it.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So, Matt, Anthony, any questions? Anybody have any questions while we have her?
Is everybody just stunned into insensibility?
I don't really have it. I don't really have any questions. I think it's great that how you help us condense it down, even further. Like Eddie said, I've always been tweaking mine a little bit, and you try to get it shorter and shorter. And what really helped me today was when you said how working with you will solve their problem. And that really kind of, okay, what do I say to that person that helps them get that result? And so I think that's very helpful. And that's what I'm going to work on here in the next couple of days to try to figure out a little bit more with my little speech.
Fantastic, Matt. What is it that you do? What business are you in?
I'm an independent insurance broker in Portland.
Oh, okay.
So
Good to know. I was just thinking of an elevator speech that I helped somebody write who's actually a mortgage officer. And it was such a powerful speech that it just blew up her business. And I'll give you the example right now. And she said, I find zero down home loans for first-time buyers. Just like, what? I'm a first-time buyer. I want a zero down home loan. But then other people were saying, I'm downsizing. Can I get a zero down loan? I'm buying a vacation property. Can I get a zero down loan? I'm thinking of investing in real estate. Can I get a zero down loan? And the cool thing is, even if she couldn't give them the zero down loan that she could have gotten for a first-time home buyer, the conversation was started and she was able to say, I've got wonderful products for people in your situation. And this is what we are looking for. So I applaud you, Matt, even though I know you're not in the real estate business, you're in insurance. If you find something that is so sparkly and exciting, then people will see you as the problem solver, which is a smart thing to do.
Any basic tips if you are a wordy person, financial?
Yes, love yourself, because I'm an extremely wordy person myself. And so the way I work is to get as many words out as possible. So I don't edit in my head, I edit on paper. I write everything down, and then I see how can I shape this. And now that I've said it, okay, this information's been honored, and now let me edit it down. But I find a lot of times wordy people like me, and it sounds like, Davida, like you too, we're trying to edit in our heads and say less, and it's really hard. So I say, let it all out in the privacy of your office, obviously, and edit it down so you can shape a story, shape the scripts that you want to use and feel really good about it. Because I don't know about you, but I've spent a lot of time, or at least I did when I was younger, thinking, you know what I should have said? You know what I wish I would have said? And after I said that to myself enough times, I came up with those answers so that they were there when they were needed. Because I have found that the same situations come up over and over again, especially in networking and business. So it pays to be prepared. Think about what you want to say before you have to say it. It's kind of the dig your well before you're thirsty. And when you do it with your messaging and story, you can make sure that you always say exactly the right thing at the exactly the right time. And then everybody thinks you're a genius. And you're just a wordy girl who has done a little bit of homework.
Ronnie, I'll throw out too, I think realizing that you're helping people or helping somebody they know is important. But if you practice and you've got networking groups to dial in your message, then get comfortable with actually realizing you're saying something good and trust your instincts, go with the flow and just say it, but don't say too much. Just say one phrase and let it go with that and it'll work. But you've got to learn how to trust yourself.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I love about I Take the Lead is it gives you the opportunity to test things out. And also it gives you the opportunity to get it out of your system. And it gives you the opportunity to be comfortable sharing successes and client success stories without bragging. Mm-hmm. So, because people love success stories, but they hate brag. So it's So the more you practice and the more you do that in the warm, congenial, positive, supportive environment of, say, I Take the Lead, for example, the better you get. And the more clear you are in your own mind and your own story.
Hey, Ronnie, I really appreciate the second piece of this with the 10 steps. That I feel like is a really good way to bring it into like a, how do you say, concise but informative way. I really appreciate that a lot.
Well, I'm glad you like it, Joyce. Thank you.
You're awesome.
You're only saying that because it's true.
Yeah, I am.
I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. I saw the opportunity for a joke and I took it. Joyce,
for
I
it.
appreciate you.
Oh,
Very
gosh.
cool. Thanks, Joyce. Michael, you had your mute off. Did you have a question, or was there something you wanted to say? I noticed that you had it off earlier.
I was just listening to everybody. Ronnie helped me a long time ago at one of the I Take the Lead meetings, and I have a good, what I think is a good elevator speech, and it's only 7 words. My problem is I don't always remember to use it.
Yeah.
Time for a
Yeah.
tattoo.
Yeah.
Okay, that might be a little extreme for some people, but let me ask you, are you committed? Are you committed to your business?
It is Portland.
Yeah, exactly.
Or should
Thank
you
you,
be
Charlie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. And Anthony, you kept yours unmuted. Did you have anything you wanted to say or ask?
I think she already answered it.
Okay.
But I know she said that she was going to share the slides as well, so I'll be able to go back through it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be, Ronnie can get me her slides later, and then I'll send you over, send everybody the recording, her slides, and her codes, so that you know how to get a hold of her and book coaching if you want, or the networking tools. So I wrote those down. So Ronnie is a rock star. We really, really appreciate her. She's really famous with I Take the Lead. Well, in
Okay,
everywhere.
thank you.
Yeah.
I have a quick
yeah.
question for Ronnie.
Yeah.
Yes, Eddie.
Hey, Ronnie. You know, obviously, in a lot of the groups, you have your common, your common actually, I'd say your common roles, right? One of them, loan officer. I love that pitch. You know, wish I did that 20-something years ago when I was doing that. But, you know, how about for insurance agents? I mean, there are, so many, but there has to be a killer pitch for them. I'm just curious what that would be, because I'm sure you probably have worked with a lot of them in the past.
I have, and my favorite is not the favorite of all of the insurance people. And so here's my favorite. It's I help careful families cover their assets. And most people take a few minutes and then they're like, oh.
See, Ronnie, I like that one. I like that one. And there's another one I like. It's like I help people help keep a bad day from becoming a bad life.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one too.
So it's very simple.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very simple.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, they don't have to be complicated at all. And as a matter of fact, it's so much better when they're not complicated. Again, like we talked about, the big challenge is choosing the right words that fit your personality and speak directly into the hearts and minds and souls of your market, your target market, which is why we never want to use the word people, because if we talk about people, we're talking about 8 billion. If we talk about first-time home buyers, we're talking about someone who could be standing right in front of us. Not that we're not all people. Most of us are.
You want that response? Tell me more.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Charlie?
I'm a little conflicted by that, though. It just seemed a little bit nebulous. What I really liked about the elevator pitches you were talking about, it boiled down the classic position statement into a conversational piece.
Mm-hmm.
What you're identifying what you are, what you do, and what differentiates you from others, but you do it in 7 words.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid some of these, it's a little nebulous who you are.
Well, but that's really putting a lot of pressure on 7 words, Charlie, don't you think? So if it's possible, yes, but for most of us, really we want to talk about the prospect, not ourselves, in that initial 7 words.
Sure.
We're going to come out in the follow-up. But I think that might be a little much to ask 7 words to talk about. We're distilling the essence of our value and solution to a specific client base.
I thought the loan originator one was perfect though.
Yeah. Well,
Because
I was younger when I
it's
came up
very
with that
clear
one.
what you are, what you do, who your target audience is, and what differentiates you from others.
Right. But what
And it was
differentiated themselves
words.
is the deliverable and the market. So, you know, keep those two things in mind.
Well, good. Well, we're
Now, at an evening event, Ronnie did, I think the best one that somebody did as we're going through the group was a gentleman who said, I'm Mike Iranagua. I'm your insurance samurai. I'm going to cut your insurance costs.
Yes.
Of course, he
I
was
forgot about
joking,
Mike.
so-
That was a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
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 That
Exactly.
is really good.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So we're a little bit over time, and I know Ronnie's really busy, and I really appreciate having her here today. We want to have her back, so we will end it. Ronnie, last words.
Oh, I didn't know I was going to do last words. Yes, thank you.
Oh,
That's what I
okay,
said.
okay. Well, thank you very much. I really
welcome.
appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody being on here. It's nice seeing everybody, and so be sure and watch for an email from me over the next 24 hours. I'll be sending out the replays to you. Sorry about Facebook Live.
Their loss.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. Thanks everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
Ronnie. Good seeing you.
Thank you. Good to
Bye-bye.
see you,
Bye,
Lynn.
everyone.
Thank you, Becky. Bye-bye.